Hello guys, good day. So we are still here in CDI 2, Specialized Crime Investigation 1 with Legal Medicine. So last meeting we discussed, ah, no, we tried to analyze what is special crime investigation, no, in our introduction. Then I have given you some problems to solve, no. Uh, I made you. So suppose I made you an investigator. Okay? And suppose you are an investigator. No, I hope you have already submitted your activity for that. So today, our topic is all about homicide investigation. No, according to its definition, homicide investigation is the official inquiry made by the police on the facts and circumstances surrounding the death of a person, which is expected to be unlawful. No? Okay, so suicide, murder, parricide. In For the purpose of this discussion, is classified under homicide investigation. No? Every time that a person is found lifeless, then it is expected to be unlawful. Okay? We should consider that someone is liable, then someone killed that person. Okay? So according to the definition. So in homicide investigation, no, it is a broad topic in specialized crime investigation because it is one of the sensational crimes in our country. No, it is included in the eight focus crime. No, it is a serious crime in the Philippines, and not just in the Philippines, but of course in the whole world, because it is a mortal sin to kill anybody. So that's why we need to put much emphasis on the process, techniques of homicide investigation as a future law enforcement officer. Okay? So, under this homicide investigation, no, we have the threefold aims. No, it was already discussed in your fundamentals of criminal investigation, but of course, the fundamentals can be used over and over again in the uh, under the investigation umbrella. Okay? So we call this as the fundamental, meaning it is the very basic, no? It is the must know, and it should not be forgotten because it is very important in the study of criminology and specifically in investigation. Okay, so we have the threefold aims of investigation. Okay, so uh, from here, from the threefold aims of investigation, we will expand further towards the procedure in homicide investigation because this is the root of the process in investigation. Okay, so first is to identify the perpetrator. Second, locate the perpetrator. Then third, provide evidence for his or her guilt. So the first step is to identify the perpetrator. Okay? So the first aim, of the investigation, meaning the purpose of investigation, first is to identify the perpetrator, if there is a perpetrator. So under this aim, first aim of investigation, we then expand further. Then, so the first step is to test. Okay? The first thing that you must do when you arrive at the crime scene is to determine whether the body, whether the person is still living. Okay? So we need to establish first if that person is already dead. Okay? Okay. So the first essential step of the homicide investigation is to establish that the victim is indeed dead. Police officers do not have the legal authority to pronounce death. Only physicians, medical doctor can establish the fact of death. For this reason, the police officer should never assume death unless the condition of the victim's body demonstrates death in a totally obvious manner. Okay? So, under here we have signs that must be taken note. Okay? To establish if a person is really dead or not. Okay? Second, an individual is said to be dead in the medical sense when one of the three vital functions is no longer performing within the body. Okay? Uh, we have the respiratory system, the cardiac activity, and the central nervous system activity. So, respiratory system, it means the intake of oxygen and disposal of the carbon dioxide from the body. So, uh, okay, what is the purpose of the respiratory system? The purpose of the respiratory system is to provide oxygen to our body because oxygen is very essential to for us to live. Okay, so if a person doesn't inhale and doesn't exhale, then probably that person is already dead. Okay, so cardiac activity means the activities of the heart, of the activity of pumping blood on the different parts of the body. Okay, central nervous system activity. Okay, the senses is already numb. The senses is not working, and the person doesn't react to any kind of stimulation. So that means that the central nervous system activity. So that means the central nervous system is already not functioning well. Okay. In the legal sense, death is considered to occur when all of the three above vital functions have ceased. Okay. So all of the three above vital functions has already ceased. Okay. The respiratory, cardiac activity, and the central nervous system. Okay. But be careful because there is also called as the state of suspended animation. Okay. So cardiac activity, breathing, and functioning of the nervous system will reach such a low level of activity that the homicide investigator may be deceived into an assumption of death. Okay. The following conditions produce simulated appearance of death. Okay. Electric shock, prolonged immersion, poisoning from narcotic drugs, barbiturate poisoning, and certain mental diseases. Okay, so we also have this what we call as the state of suspended animation, wherein cardiac activity, respiratory activity, and central nervous system activity will reach a very low level that is somewhat undetectable to the investigator. Okay, so at least we have learned that there is what we call a suspended animation. Okay, so it is like death. Okay, so a false death and a more common term. Okay, so next is death. Okay. Death is defined as the absence of life in a living matter. Okay, there are also the kinds of death. Okay, the somatic death, the molecular death, and apparent death. Okay, so we are still, take note, we are still under, so take note, we are still on the, under the first aim of investigation. So the steps that we need to identify the perpetrator, or the step that we need before identifying the perpetrator, because it is more important than identification of the perpetrator. So first, we should uh, attend to the victim. No, we must know first if the death is already certain. Okay, somatic death, molecular death, and death or state of suspended animation or apparent death. Okay, when we say somatic death, it is a complete, continuous, persistent cessation of respiration. Okay, no breathing, circulation, and almost all brain functions of an organism. Okay, it is usually pronounced by a physician or other members of the family. Okay, so somatic death is clinical death. Okay, molecular death or cellular death. It is the cessation of life of the individual cells in the whole body, which occurs one at a time after somatic death. So after a person is already dead, wherein no respiration, no circulation of blood, and no brain function, then molecular death happens next. Okay, individual cells within our body is dying one at a time. No, it occurs after somatic death. Okay, next is apparent death. No, a state of suspended animation. It is the state of temporary cessation of vital activities of the body, or vital processes were depressed to the minimum compatible with life. This condition is not actually death. This condition is not actually death. That is not really dead. No, some investigator may uh, wrongfully consider this as death. No, so it means the same with what we have discussed earlier. No, suspended animation. So these are the uh, instances or the causes that person respiration, cardiac activity, or brain activity will reach a very low level. Okay. So what is the importance of death determination? Okay. So according to the Civil Code of the Philippines, no, it is also written on the Green Book of Legal Medicine. I forgot the author. Okay. So first, the civil personality of a natural person is extinguished by death. Okay. The civil personality is extinguished by death. The effect of death upon the rights and obligation of the deceased is determined by law, by contract, and by will. So, the contracts, the wills that dead person uh, contracted during when the person is still alive will be dealt with by law. So there is a law that will guide as to the procedures, as to the rules, as to the rules governing uh, his contracts and wills. Okay? So the property of a person is transmitted to his heirs at the time of death. So yung mga mana-mana is mapupunta na sa kanila. Kasi nga, yung person is already dead. Okay? The death of a partner is one of the causes of dissolution of partnership agreement. So, when the spouse died, then the other spouse can then contract another marriage. Okay? Criminal liability of a person is extinguished by death. So, when a person died, all criminal liability was also extinguished. No? You can also find this on the criminal procedure. Okay, the civil case for claims which does not survive is dismissed upon death of the defendant. Okay, that is the importance of death determination according to the book of legal medicine. Okay, so signs of death, it is the basis of the investigator in determining whether a person is already dead so that he can proceed with his or her investigation. Okay, so cessation of respiration. The first sign of death, cessation of respiration in order to be considered a sign of death must be continuous and persistent. A person can hold his breath for a period of no longer than 3.5 minutes. In case of electrical shock, respiration may cease for some time, but may be restored by continuous artificial respiration. So we will conduct, we will give CPR to the person. Okay. So according to this, no person can hold his breath for more than 3.5 minutes. Okay. So next, irregular types of respiration. Chain stroke respiration interval is about 15 to 30 seconds. Okay. So methods of detecting cessation of respiration. Okay. Expose the chest and abdomen and observe the movement during uh, inspiration, okay, inhalation, and expiration, the exhalation. Okay, you will observe if the chest or abdomen is moving. Okay, that is the first method of determining or detecting if a person still have the respiration. Okay, B. Examine the person with the aid of stethoscope, which is placed at the base of the anterior aspect of the neck, and hear sound of the current of air passing through the trachea during each phase of respiration. Okay, stethoscope will be used to listen any sound of current, any sound of air passing through the trachea. So if there is still movement of air inside the trachea. Okay, so examination with a mirror. The mirror will be placed in front of the nose. Then if you can detect any uh, blurry part on the mirror, meaning there's still vapors or there's still breath coming from that person, meaning that person is still living. A D. Examination with a feather or cotton fibers. It will also be put in front of the nose, under the nose. If the cotton or the feather fiber, feather or cotton fibers is can be seen moving. Okay. E. Examination with a glass of water. A glass of water will be put above the abdomen or chest area. Then, if the glass of if the water in the glass will move, then it means that there is still respiration. Okay, Winslow's test is done by putting a mirror on top of the chest or abdomen, then shining a ray of light on that mirror. If no movement is detected, then there is no respiration from the person. Okay, so let me close this. Okay. Second sign of death is cessation of heart and circulation. Okay, there must be an entire and continuous cessation of the heart action and flow of blood in the whole vascular system. A temporary suspension of the heart action is still compatible with life, meaning when no heart action is detected, it is not immediately a sign of death because as we discussed earlier, there is what we call a state of suspended animation. Okay, the length of time the heart may cease to function and life is still maintained depends upon the length of the time it is readily reestablished and upon the oxygenation of the blood at the time of the suspension. As a general rule, there is no heart action for a period of 5 minutes that is regarded as certain. So take note of this, no? 5 minutes. If no heart action is documented or detected for a period of 5 minutes or more, no, at least 5 minutes, then death is regarded as certain. So methods of detecting heart action. Okay, examination of the heart. Okay, palpitation of the pulse and heartbeat. Auscultation with the aid of a stethoscope, replacing the air in the region of the heart. Then observation of the point of maximum impulse. ECG, fluoroscopic examination. Magnus test, opening of small artery. Aicar's test, pressure on the fingernails, very common. Diaphanous test, application of heat on the skin. Palpitation of the radial pulse or dropping of melted wax. No, if uh, skin has a reaction to that wax. Okay, that's it about detecting death using the cessation of heart and circulation. Okay, cooling of the body is also a sign of death. Okay, when a person died, no, it is common to say that malamig na siyang bangkay, meaning the temperature of the body is lowered. Okay, after death, the metabolic process inside the body ceases. No more heat is produced, but the body loses slowly its temperature by evaporation or by conduction to the surrounding atmosphere. The progressive fall of the body temperature is one of the most prominent signs of death. Gradual decreasing of the body temperature until such time it assumes the temperature of the environment, which is faster during the first 2 hours after death and slower during the next 6 to 9 hours and equal to the environment temperature beyond 12 hours. So, when the body is already dead for 12 hours or more, then the temperature of the body is expected to adapt with the temperature of the environment. Okay, so the fall of temperature of 15 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit is considered a certain sign of death. Okay, there is also what we call as the postmortem caloricity. It is the heating of the body after death. It is the rise of the temperature of the body after death due to rapid and early putrefactive changes and some internal changes. It is usually observed in the first 2 hours of death, occur in the following conditions. So we can uh, witness postmortem caloricity if the person, the dead body of the person or the person has cholera, okay, tetanus, smallpox, and like this. Okay, take note of that also. Okay, so the fourth sign of death is the insensibility of the body and loss of power to move. No kind of stimulus is capable to letting the body have voluntary movement. So, meaning the body is non-responsive. No? The body doesn't react. The body doesn't respond to any kind of stimulus that is given to the victim's body. Okay, changes in the eyes. Okay, loss of corneal and light reflexes. No, the eye doesn't react to light. The haziness of the cornea. Between haziness of the cornea, meaning it is blurred, like the some fish that you can find in the market, wherein the eyes of the fish is slightly covered with white substance or white membrane. Then that is a sign of death. Okay, acidity of the eyeball. The eyeball is soft. Then finding inside the eye. Okay, ophthalmoscopic finding. So it is done by an ophthalmologist, I think. Okay, so the fifth sign of death is changes in the skin. Okay, change in color, loss of the elasticity of the skin, opacity of the skin, absence of reaction to the injury. So that are the signs of death. Okay, so the investigator may use that to determine if the person is already dead or not when he arrives on the crime scene, no? Especially for the first responder. Okay, so let's close that branch. Changes of the body after death. Okay, so stage of primary flaccidity. So when the person died, so it is general knowledge, no? Most of us already know that when a person died, his or her body became flaccid or became soft, became soft. Okay, flaccid or soft. Okay, so loss of ability to move, loss of ability to contract the muscle, then that is what we call as the stage of primary flaccidity. Okay. Muscles are relaxed and capable of contracting when stimulated. Pupils are dilated, inconsistent of urination and defecation. They last 3 to 6 hours after death. So when a person died, no, his or her body remains flaccid for almost 6 hours. Okay, it lasts for 3 to 6 hours after death. Then the second stage will come in. Okay, the stage of postmortem rigidity. So it is important now the changes on the body after that. It is important to estimate the approximate time that the person died. Okay, approximate time that the crime is uh, done by the perpetrator. Okay, the second stage is postmortem rigidity, wherein the body is stiff. Okay, 3 to 6 hours after death and may last for 24 to 36 hours, no, depending on the temperature or the weather of the surrounding environment. The body becomes rigid due to contraction of the muscles. Conditions stimulating rigor mortis. Okay. Heat stiffening or cold stiffening. Okay. So these two, the heat stiffening and the cold stiffening, may resemble postmortem rigidity, but it is not postmortem rigidity because yeah, it is common in Egypt. No, we can find mummies buried below the below dirt. tombs, then those body, no, where archaeologists have recovered some, okay, uh, the body is covered with cloth, then the body is stiff. So that is called as heat stiffening or cold stiffening. Okay, okay, that are the two types of conditions simulating rigor mortis. Yeah, it is like rigor mortis, but it is not rigor mortis. Yeah. So don't confuse yourself with that. The body is exposed to temperature above 77 degrees Celsius, pugilistic action more or less permanent. Due to solidification of fat when the body is exposed to freezing environment. So you can witness this cold stiffening by observing the meats that are stored in the freezer. Okay, that is what we call as cold stiffening. Okay, it is not rigor mortis. So rigor mortis occurs after the first activity. So mauna yung makakita nga mugahi ng lawas. That is called as rigor mortis. Okay, cadaveric spasm or instantaneous rigor. It can also be uh, wrongfully analyzed as the rigor mortis, but cadaveric spasm is the rigidity of the muscles which occurs at the moment of the death due to nervous tension, exhaustion, and injury to the nervous system. So you can commonly find this cadaveric spasm or instantaneous rigor on suicide incidents wherein the person used a gun to kill her or himself. Okay? So when a person pulls the trigger, so it is a sign of death when the finger of the dead person on a suicide incident is still intact, holding the same gun. Okay? So, yung kamay niya is titigas dahil sa trauma. Okay? So, next, the distinction between rigor mortis and cadaveric spasm. The time of appearance, cadaveric spasm is instant. Rigor mortis occurs 3 to 6 hours after death. No, it occurs after the state of primary flaccidity. Okay, cadaveric spasm immediately after death. Okay, because of trauma. Okay, occurrence rigor mortis is natural. Cadaveric spasm may or not appear. Okay. So, medico-legal significance, rigor mortis. Okay, it is significant on determining the time of death of the person. Cadaveric spasm is important in determining the cause of death. So, when we discover a cadaveric spasm in the dead person, meaning some trauma is given to the said person. Okay, muscles involved, rigor mortis, all the muscles on the body, cadaveric spasm, only certain muscles. Okay, so, we are done with this rigor mortis. So after rigor mortis, there we come. There comes the stage of secondary flaccidity or the secondary relaxation. So the first stage wherein a person is discovered dead, wherein the person died, his or her body is relaxed. Then, 3 to 6 hours after death, his or her body contracts. So, that contraction made the body stiff and hard. Okay? So, after the rigor mortis, a state of secondary flaccidity or the secondary relaxation occurs. Okay? The body uh, returns to being soft after the rigor mortis, okay, due to the dissolution of muscle protein. Then onset of putrefaction. Putrefaction is the decomposition of the body. Okay, the body become limp again, and the muscles are no longer capable of responding to mechanical or electrical stimulus. Okay, noted about 48 hours after death. Okay, so still very good indication of the time of death is this stage of secondary toxicity. Okay, next is the postmortem decomposition. Autolysis or autodigestive changes after the death. Okay, after death, proteolytic, glycotic, and lymphotic ferments of glandular tissues, it is a bit technical here, so continue to act, which lead to the autodigestion of organs. This is facilitated by the weak acid and higher temperature. This is also seen in the maceration of the dead fetus inside the uterus. The stomach may be perforated. Glandular tissues become soft after death due to autodigestion and action of autolytic enzymes. Okay, decomposition of enzymes. So, putrefaction, it is the breaking down of complex protein into simpler components. Okay, so the body is decomposition by bacteria. Okay. Nothing confusing about this. Okay, putrefaction, when your body is becoming nabubulok. Okay, that is what we call as putrefaction. Physical changes undergone by the soft tissues of the body during putrefaction. Changes in the color of the tissue, evolution of gases. So that's why the lifeless body became smelly after death because gases are evolving. Okay? The tissues are transforming into gases. Okay? Factors affecting the rate of putrefaction. Okay? Internal factors. So it will affect how the body decomposes. The age, cause of death, condition of the body. So external, air and moisture, condition of type of soil, presence of water, effect of clothing, effect of caffeine, depth of burial, or spirit. So it is important in determining the time of death. The special forms of putrefaction, mummification, okay, mummify. The persons buried at the tombs of Egypt, saponification or adipocere formation. Okay, so saponification or adipocere formation is the formation of soft, friable, and brownish white greasy substance in the soft fatty tissues of the body after death. So this substance is called adipocere. That is formed by hydrogenation of the body fats. It can be possibly be seen in the buttocks, trunk, limbs, breast, and cheeks. It prevents or delays the putrefaction of the body. So those fatty uh, parts of the body produce adipocere. So that is what we call as saponification. We have pictures, no? So I think this discussion is better with pictures. But unfortunately, I cannot attach a picture on this Xmind tool, on this mind mapping tool. So next time, we'll make a separate file or PowerPoint file detailing the physical um, appearance of these types, this mummification, saponification, and all other terms that we have discussed a while ago. So maceration, it is the condition of the body, usually the fetus, characterized by the softening and discoloration of the tissues, as well as formation of blisters in the skin due to the action of paralytic enzymes. In the absence of utero, is, is important in the consideration of legal live birth, which shows evidence of laceration by the following manifestation: reddish green to reduce bone discoloration of skin, softness and limpness of the body, bleach formation and separation of the epidermis from the underlying tissues. Okay, that is common on fetus. Okay. Effect of pressure of gases of putrefaction, displacement of the blood, so bloating of the body. So when you see a person already bloating, meaning that person is on the stage of putrefaction. So meaning that occurs more than 48 hours already. So fluid coming out of the both nostrils and mouth because of the pressure inside, extrusion of the fetus in the gravid uterus, then floating of the body, especially on death due to drowning. So the person will float because of these gases. Okay, yeah, through with that. Okay, here points to be considered which may infer the position of the body at the time of death. So it is important because by looking at this, you can determine if the body is moved. Okay, posture of the body when found. When the body is found uh, on a different position than the original uh, place where the person died, and uh, post-mortem rigor mortis or post-mortem rigidity already take place, then the body of the person will resemble the first place, the place wherein that rigor mortis happened. So uh, when the person died lying on the floor, okay, then 3 to 6 hours post-mortem rigidity takes effect. Then the position of that person of that dead body is fixed because the body is rigid, the body is hard. Then when the person is moved, then it will not resemble the first place wherein the body is found. If you put the body on somewhere, like if you want the body to resemble a sitting position, then that will become nearly impossible because the body is stiff. Okay, the posture of the body when found, the body may become rigid in the position in which he died. Postmortem lividity may develop in the assumed position. Okay, so what is postmortem hypostasis or hypostatic lividity or postmortem lividity? That is the settling down of the blood to the lower parts of the body. If the body is found lying on his back, then of course the blood, due to the pressure or due to the law of gravity, will be pulled down towards the center of the earth. So meaning uh, the body will have the lividity on the lower portion, specifically on the back, because the body is lying on his back or her back when she or he died. Okay, that is lividity. So lividity can appear in any color. So the color will also determine uh, the cause of death, no? Especially when it is poisoning. Then the color of the turbidity is different. Then cadaveric spasm. In violent death, the attitude of the body may interposition on account of the spasm of the muscles. In drowning, the victim may be holding the seaweeds. Okay? That is gonna be discussing. So we are through with this. It's a bit long discussion, no? Because it changes of the body after death. Okay. Okay. Changes in the blood. Coagulation of the blood. The stasis of the blood due to the cessation of circulation enhances the coagulation of blood inside the blood vessels. So blood clotting is accelerated in cases of death by infectious fevers and delayed in case of asphyxia, poisoning by opium, hydrocyanic acid, or carbon monoxide poisoning. Blood may remain fluid inside the body vessels after death for 6 to 8 hours. Okay? The distinction between antemortem from postmortem clot. The antemortem clot, meaning a clot, occurs before death, firm in consistency, surface to blood vessel, raw after the clots are removed. Okay? So when you remove the blood clot, then you can see blood vessels grow after. Clots homogeneous in construction, so it cannot be stripped into layers. Clot with uniform color. Postmortem clot, soft in consistency, surface of the blood vessels smooth and healthy after the clots are removed. Clots can be stripped off in layers, then clot with distinct layer. So that is the uh, difference between antemortem and postmortem clot. Okay, postmortem lividity. So I have discussed this earlier. It is the discoloration of the body after death, when the blood tends to pool in the blood vessels for the most dependent portion of the pool in the blood vessel for the most dependent portion of the body. Okay. The blood remains fluid in the body after 6 to 8 hours and gradually clot until it's fully developed at about 12 hours. Okay, take note of the time. And the appearance of postmortem lividity usually starts about 20 to 30 minutes after death. So thus it can be a means of in approximating the time of death of the person, but is more useful in determining the position of the body after death. The discoloration of the body may vary in color. Usually, it is dull red or reddish purple with some bluish black. So that is due to poisoning. Okay. Stages in the lividity or livor mortis. Hypostatic and diffusion. So when we say hypostatic, it is the lividity when the discoloration is due to the blood pooled in the most dependent areas of the body. So diffusion, it is fixed or permanent. So hypostatic lividity may move as the body is moved. So when you find a body lying on its back, then you transfer it and you put the body wherein the body is facing down, then hypostatic lividity will follow. So unlike diffusion lividity, so in diffusion lividity, the blood is fixed and permanent. And discoloration, there is also discoloration in the blood has clotted. Okay. Inside the blood vessels or has diffused different parts of the body. That is diffusion. So the big difference is that diffusion lividity is fixed, then hypostatic can be transferred. So importance of cadaveric lividity. Okay. It is one of the signs of death. It may determine the position of the body after death or whether it was changed. The color of the lividity may indicate the cause of death. It gives us an idea as to the time of death also. That is postmortem lividity. Okay? that is all about determining death, no, and defining death. So as the first step of being an investigator. Okay. So as you can see, you can find many clues as to the time of death, cause of death, by just looking at the dead body. Okay. So let's pause this discussion for a minute. Then let's go to the next topic, the importance of identification of the